do the Pledge of Allegiance for us to start the meeting.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, guys. Have a seat.
Yeah. Teresa's like, you going to this? I go, no.
Yeah, I'm not either. I'm gonna be gone.
Take an attendance here? Yeah, sure.
Councilperson Tom Diddy.
Here.
Councilman Paul Valentine.
Here.
Councilman Jerry Vitari.
Here.
Councilman Brian Donahue.
Present.
Supervisor Teresa Kenny.
Excused.
Dennis Shaw.
I'm here. Even not all there, yeah. All right. So we have a couple announcements. The playground grand opening is going to be on Thursday. It's brand new, looking at it. I hear rave reviews on it. I haven't played there. But so this Thursday, 4 o'clock at Veterans Park in Orangeburg, right on off Veterans Road. July 4th, 2022, Monday, 9 o'clock, the Pearl River Parks and Activity Committee will be hosting fireworks at the Pearl River Central Avenue Field. We have Mike Mandel of that committee. They do a lot of work in terms of raising money in front of ShopRite and the Carnival in order to make this available to the public, which is a great thing every year. The public hearing on the proposed zone change for the Gatto Lane property is continued to July 12th, 2022. Presentation. The Harry Meriginian, am I killing that name? Meriginian. All right. The Scouts, who were up here just before, had a birdhouse project. Cub Scout Pack 55 consists of over 50 local scouts from Blauvelt and South Orangetown area. They built over 100 birdhouses and placed them throughout Orangetown. And I'm not a great naturalist, but I think one of the things that you have to realize, it's one thing, I hate bugs. And all those birdhouses, what those birds do is eat bugs. So the fact that you have 100 birdhouses out there, I thank you personally, all right? So if you come up here, we have a certificate from the town for the Scouts. And this certificate, guys, I was a Cub Scout myself way back when. So far back, I can't even remember it, but I was a Cub Scout and I was also a Boy Scout back in the Bronx. And this is from the town of Orangetown, presented to the Cub Scout Pack, number 55, Blauvelt in South Orangetown. Thank you for building over 100 birdhouses to promote nesting, which helps the surrounding environment by providing a natural pest insect control, weed control, and aid in pollination. Given this 28th day of June 2022, signed by the town clerk, Rosanna Schrager, and also by the supervisor, Teresa Kenny. So, glad. Oh, come back. Give me one of those. Let me just hold that up here. Okay. It's heavy. Look at these beautiful birdhouses that they built and put all over the town. Here, give it back to him.
And one more picture. He needs a birdhouse.
He needs a bird.
We have over 100, so if anybody from you guys would like one, please take one. Please, they're gonna end up on your son's yard. Anyone?
I'll take it.
I'll take
In my
one.
backyard.
I already got two in my bag.
I'll take one.
Take one.
My wife,
I'll take the motion. Absolutely. In my yard, I'd be happy to.
thank you very much, and thank you to the scout leaders for sending these boys in the right direction, all right? Take care, guys.
Thank you.
Oh, I took it back.
Good job, guys, thank you.
You want to do the public hearing first? We have, okay, we can do that first, okay. All right, we're going to do the public hearing in a second, but before that, we're going to items number 11 and number 12. Captain Shannon, Captain Atchison. You're allowed to come up.
We're just looking to appoint Andrew Torres as a police officer probationary permanent, and appoint Kurt Niemeyer, police officer probationary permanent.
I have a motion on 11 and 12.
I'll make the motion on 11.
I'll second.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay. It's passed. Bring them up.
Thank you.
Congratulations, congratulations.
All right. Our first order of business is the item number 3, continue the public hearing, proposed change to the town code, chapter 43, adding article 18, is that true? Yeah, 18, to address zoning in the hamlet of South Nyack. Town attorney, Mr. Magrino?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Troy. So as we mentioned at the last meeting, when South Nyack dissolved, excuse me, their local laws continue over for a period of 2 years during the transition period. We engaged LaBarge, who is the group that helped South Nyack with the dissolution, and they, along with Jane Slavin, the building department, Dennis Michaels from my office, and myself, we all worked on this. And some people are asking exactly, what the mechanism is. We're, in essence, taking a large portion of the South Nyack, the existing South Nyack code, and incorporating it into the Orangetown code. We're not just taking it and plopping it in. We made a few changes, which have been out there and which were recommended. There are a couple of items. The county planning made some recommendations. Some were adopted. Some we're going to ask for an override on. But for the most part, the zoning in South Nyack will stay the same in terms of the districts and things of that nature. There are a few changes. There was one critical environmental area that was taken out. The primary reason for that, from some feedback we had received, basically every project, Jane, correct me if I'm wrong, but every project in South Nyack, every building permit pretty much has to go to the planning board. That's kind of an onerous process, and that's because all properties were in a different critical environmental area, one of 3. So one of the critical environmental areas, again, after review, it was felt that that was no longer necessary. But, they certainly will be going through the process, and everything will be handled now through the Orangetown Building Department. So it makes sense to have everything in the code, in the Orangetown code, as soon as possible. Once this is done, we'll take a look at the other sections of the code. There's parking issues, overnight parking, speed restrictions, a number of issues that have to be looked at, but we wanted to kind of take it one at a time and start with this. So that's where we are. And again, if people have questions during the public comment session, we'll certainly answer them.
Jane, do you want to add anything to that?
I think just add the critical environmental discussion, the riverfront properties and the steep slope properties will still go to the planning board, as is with our steep properties and the critical environmental. The section that was taken out is sort of the middle of South Nyack, which is relatively flat. So this way, they wouldn't have to go, even if you were adding, a few feet onto your deck, you'd have to go through the whole planning board process. So with working with LaBerge and also Dave Bujeski, who had some familiarity with South Nyack, we felt that taking those properties out would be, in favor for the residents, and we did get a lot of concerns from the residents about having to go through that whole planning board process, which we all know is very time consuming. So again, the critical properties will still be reviewed by the planning board.
Thank you. I have 3 people signed up for public,
Gotta open the public.
I'm sorry, opening public hearing.
I make a motion to open the public comment
On this hearing?
on this. Yes, on this.
All right, second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay. Get the sun in my eyes here. Andrew Goodwillie?
Hi there. My name is Andrew Goodwillie, resident of South Nag. I'm a former trustee and former member of the planning board in the village. So as you know, the village is dissolved, and throughout the dissolution process, I really appreciate that Orangetown officials recognize the unique and attractive character of the village and express their desire to preserve that uniqueness. So thank you for that. So the South Nyack zoning code was created and refined over the course of 144 years, and it was changed over the years to best meet the needs of the residents. The proposed local law and resolution that you're considering this evening includes overriding 11 of the 16 recommendations made by the Rockland County Planning Department as part of its general municipal law review of the proposed changes to the zoning code. And justifications for overriding those recommendations are given in the LaBerge Group memo dated the 24th of June 2022 and referred to in documentation as attachment 2. But 2 of the recommendations that are slated to be overridden refer to the critical environmental areas, as we've just heard about. And the proposed changes, one critical environmental area, the one in the middle, will be eliminated entirely, and another one will be significantly reduced in size. The LaBerge memo appears to say that because LaBerge was unable to find a map of the critical environmental areas, the changes, either in the village code or on the Department of Environmental Conservation website, that the changes are justified. And in fact, the village code states that the map was kept in the offices of the building inspector and the village clerk. So presumably the map is with all the other documentation that was sent from South Nag over to Orangetown when the dissolution took place. And I spoke with the former village engineer today, and he said if there's questions about the existence of this map, which is what the LaBerge consultant seems to base the justification on, then the village engineer is willing to provide an affidavit if required that it exists. Additionally, all 3 of the South Nyack critical environmental areas were filed by our village land use attorney in January of this year with the New York State Department of Environmental Conservation as required by state law. So based on what I've read in the documents, it's unclear that just because the consultant could not find the map, it didn't seem that was suitable grounds for eliminating one of the critical environmental areas in the former village and for shrinking another. And second, the document known as Attachment 2, which contains the LaBerge consultant's lengthy recommendations, was made public only yesterday. And it's a lengthy document with a lot of stuff in it, and to me there's not been time for anyone to properly evaluate the impact of all its content since it became public. So for these 2 reasons, I hope that the town board chooses to continue this public hearing and the vote on the local law to future days so that we can explore these 2 issues more fully. And lastly, the village attorney may have just answered this question. The proposed local law that is to be considered tonight, hopefully delayed, involves the repeal of 9 chapters of the South Nyack Village Code. And I want to ask the town attorney if all the other parts of the village code that are not being repealed are to remain fully in effect, at least for now. And I think that's the case, but I'd appreciate clarification on that.
Yeah.
Mention that, right? The only ones that are being repealed are set forth in the law. Everything else remains intact for a period of 2 years unless this board takes further action.
Right. Thank you.
Thank you.
The next speaker, Jerry. You're up.
Good evening. My name is Jerry Eilowhite. I live at 3C Shadyside Avenue in the hamlet of South Nyack. I am the former chair of the Village of South Nyack Planning Board, where I served for over 10 years. In looking at the changes proposed now, first of all, I want to concur with Mr. Goodwilly's comments. I'm very grateful to the involvement of the town in our development of the dissolution process and such. But one of the things that strikes me is I'm concerned that in the dissolution plan, there was a recommendation to form some sort of informal committee to work on merging our zoning with the town zoning. And my understanding was there was going to be some sort of outreach and broad bringing in of certain, maybe some volunteer South Nyack residents or former officials to help with that process. I only recently learned of this proposed changes at this time, so I really haven't had much of a chance to go over it. But I did find certain examples where I can see that there's many aspects of the code that aren't being brought over. I can just bring one example I noticed was there was a provision in the South Nyack Code where side yard requirements, minimum side yard requirements, are increased proportionally for wider properties. And I noticed that was dropped, but I don't see any real justification for that. So it seems to me that there may be a number of provisions that in South Nyack we found very valuable, and it would be, I believe, valuable to you board members to understand, to have the benefit of the understanding of the people who have worked with that code over these years, to understand what the benefit of those provisions are to the residents of South Nyack. And in addition, I am concerned about the critical environmental areas, as Mr. Goodwilly said. We do believe that those are now state listed, even if they do not appear yet on the DEC website. We don't know why they haven't updated that yet, but we do believe that these were properly filed. So I would again recommend to the board to table this action for now and to reconsider following the recommendation in the dissolution plan to form some sort of committee with former South Nyack, with South Nyack residents and former officials to help bring together a proper blending of the code. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Roger Seiler.
Good evening. I'm Roger Seiler, former chairman of the ZBA of South Nyack and also chairman of the Zoning Code Review Commission that in 1988, finishing in 88, rewrote the code, and then again in 2005, the same committee redid the code again. So a few things I've noticed, and by the way, overall, I think that the job that was done here to merge the South Nyack zoning with a very different kind of zoning law was really an excellent job. And but there are a few things I noticed that could be problematical and should be looked at. One is that there is in the definitions section of the new article or section 18, there's a provision for private educational campus, and we had that definition in our code, and we had in the second part of the code where it was to be fully laid out just what the private educational campus is, and that was intended. This was intended to to create a college campus with stipulations that much more closely fit the college enterprise than what we had before. And the college worked with us on that up until the point where the vice president of the college, who was working with us and was very pleased with what we were doing, he left the college, and then they didn't send anybody else to continue with us. And to our surprise, they brought a lawsuit against the village, an Arlupa lawsuit, to our surprise, because they didn't give us any indication that they were unhappy with what we were doing. So anyway, we decided to wait until the village board could work out all of the stipulations. And so the section that was to, section 330-45, which was to describe exactly what all the requirements were, is blank. And it was because the village board, for whatever reason, never followed up to negotiate with the college. They just left that blank, and that stopped the Arlupa lawsuit. So that being the case, I would suggest that definition for that should just be eliminated because that whole concept is incomplete, and there's no college there now. So anyhow, that's one suggestion. Another is that the definition for deck is now missing in both the South Nyack section, code section, and also in the Orangetown zoning law. I couldn't find a definition there for deck, and we've had in our in requests for variances a lot of applications involving decks because what often happens is people want to build a deck on that infringes on their rear yard, it's usually rear yard, sometimes side yard, yard requirement. So perhaps that should be looked at also as to whether that should be put back in. Another section that I think should be looked at is the non-conforming use permit. Is my time, does that mean my time is?
Yes, just to finish it up.
Okay. The non-conforming use permit was created because unlike Orangetown, the zoning law in South Nyack was developed after most of the village was built up. And as a result, we ended up with lots that were overall smaller than they should be. So the bulk and area requirements reflect that. It also affected the allowable uses. And so we found that a lot of cases were coming before the zoning board where people were saying, well, I'm grandfathered in. And that's because the law came after most of the construction. So people would say, I'm grandfathered in, but when you ask them to prove that what they were trying, the type of use they were trying to make that was not in compliance with the zoning law, they couldn't prove it. So we decided to create a non-conforming use permit so that the next time when we enacted that zoning law, people would have to would come in and prove that they actually were grandfathered in, and they actually had a grandfathered in use. Then they got the permit, and thereafter, whenever they came before the zoning board, we just say, where's your non-conforming use permit? And if they had it, then they could continue forward to apply for the variance. If they didn't have it, sorry, but we can't deal with you.
Okay, Roger, thank you.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
Right.
Jane, do you have any comments on that? I don't, is there anybody else here for the public portion on this?
Public
No,
portion
this is strictly on this, the public hearing.
Only if you have any questions.
Do you have any response to,
Well, as far as the definition section, what we did is we combed through their definitions and our definitions, and some of them were similar or contradictory. So we eliminated ones out of the South Nyack code that would have been contradictory to our code if they applied to the same type of situation. The non-conforming use permit, we have a similar situation. If someone comes in and says, I'm grandfathered in, we say you have to prove it. So if they have evidence that they were non-conforming use for the last 40 years, we're not going to take that away from them, but they can't expand the non-conforming use. So it's a very similar application. If they have a CO, even if it's a non-conforming use, they have a CO. So there's nothing, we can do to take that away. Non-conforming bulk has not changed. We took their charts over, reworded a few things, but if you look at the charts, there's 9 different charts. Basically took them over, tweaked them a little bit, and we're keeping all their setbacks and bulk requirements the same.
thank you. Rob, you have anything?
Sure. Just first, this is a continuation of the public hearing. So the public hearing was actually started a month ago. So the law had been published before this in its new form. Yes, it was published on Monday, but that addressed some of the county planning comments. But this has been out there, I think, since April or May, available to the public. In terms of the reasoning for the critical environmental area, that was a major, and by the way, we did have a former South Nyack official who did participate in this, as Jane mentioned. Dave Majeski was a former fire inspector for the village. Was he building inspector or just fire?
I think he wore many hats.
I know he was a court clerk at one point also. But Dave was very resourceful and provided a lot of information about the village, intimate knowledge of the village. So the critical environmental area was one that not just Dave raised, but many people raised with respect to having to go to the planning board for every project. I know that there are several projects, I understand, Jane, correct me if I'm wrong, that folks are waiting for this law to pass so that they can apply for a building permit to the town under this new code to eliminate the need to go to planning board for that. So that was really one of the reasons, another reason for not just the map issue, and I'll add that to the resolution, was that there was nothing in particular about that middle area that's being eliminated as a critical environmental area that necessitated, again, it was felt, and it's up to the board if you want to actually do that, to label it as a critical environmental area. Again, it's up to this board if it wishes to continue it or eliminate it as has been proposed in the local law.
If I can add,
Yep.
the map was with the backup. There's the town of Orangetown map.
Right.
And it's highlighted, pulled out, it says see attached, and it was the next map. And it is their critical environmental map. However, this middle section that I described before has been removed from the critical environmental area.
Well, that's the proposal, right, is to have this board indicate that that's not a critical environmental area. So, and, you know, again, in terms of the timing, again, I leave it to the board. I know that there are many people who are waiting for this to pass. You know, as one of the speakers mentioned, you know, this is certainly not a perfect science. Changes could be made later. But again, I leave it to the board. You know, I mean, my recommendation would be to pass it as is. We'll certainly take whatever comments the public has to offer, or if they would like to send in a memo or a paper on it, and then make amendments thereafter, or we could put it over a month and do it that way. But again, I know that there are people who are waiting for this to go through, so there is another consideration other than, you know, it was a long process, a difficult process, and, you know, we know there are going to be bumps along the way, but again, the board, I'm sorry, the group that I mentioned, and especially LaBerge, which is one of the reasons why they were picked, they were South Nyack's planner, if you will, for the dissolution, so they were certainly intimately involved in that, and that's why David Gilmore, right? Am I forgetting his name? What's his last name? Gilmore, yes. David Gilmore did a fantastic job on it as well, so he was the one who really took the lead in drafting it, so again, that's up to the board, and I don't know if the board has any questions about how it wants to proceed or not. I'll certainly answer.
The maps, the environmental maps that the gentleman was talking about that they didn't think were available, were in fact available and they had them? Is that correct?
That is correct, but they were not adopted until January.
They were
They
not?
weren't filed with the state until January.
Of this
Okay,
year.
yeah, because it sounded to me like, in the written part of it, that he said that they didn't have them available, so they just went on their own, but they were available when they were making this decision, and we all made this decision to take that out of.
Right, if
Okay.
you make that decision, yeah, to go
Yep.
that way.
Is it too late for me to address it?
We didn't close public portion.
Oh, you can answer.
Okay.
Just identify yourself and what time.
Yes, my name is Alyssa Shore. I live at 9 Baraka Avenue in the hamlet of South Nyack. I just wanted to clarify one of the things, one of the other public members spoke and said that the center part was being removed completely, but that the steep hill part, I think he mentioned, was being made smaller. Is that, did I understand that correctly?
I don't know.
Oh, the river section. Okay, I apologize. Thank you.
Thank you for answering that. All right. We'll see what the board wants to do here. The one thing I would say is that a lot of time was put into this in the last 2 years with the LaBerge and South Nyack officials and the Orangetown officials. And he, including, I'd have to thank Roger Seiler for giving myself and Teresa Kenny a tour of every inch of South Nyack, you know, on a Saturday. That was very informative. But I think we need to move, me personally, I think we need to move on. That's what I believe. So I'm making a motion to pass it, and I agree with you, Rob. If there's things that you want tweaked or whatever, you know, just bring it back to Rob Magrino or Teresa Kenny. So I'm moving.
I mean, the only problem is if you pass it tonight, it's not, tweaking it, then you gotta have another hearing if you're gonna tweak it. You do.
No, you only need another hearing.
If you're gonna change, you're gonna,
there's
tweaking
major-
means change the law.
No,
That means you're gonna
no,
have to have
no,
another,
No, major changes is
no?
tweaking.
Yeah, no, what you're thinking of, Dennis, I think is the renotice provision.
I'm
If this passes tonight, it becomes the law. I'm just going to point out, there's people who are waiting for this, whose projects are held up, so.
I understand, but like, I'm just saying, I've never heard this board say, let's pass something and then tweak it later, you know? I don't know.
You never heard that.
No, we generally don't pass laws so we can amend them later, you know?
I'll use a different word.
I'm just
I'll use
saying,
amend.
I don't think we've ever done that before.
Right, and listen, the last thing I'll say, if you want to put it over,
Well,
put it
I
over.
think
I'm
they
just
probably-
pointing out,
they
that
probably
I'm just saying, it's 18 pages worth of law that were prepared. We've come up with, you know, like, what I'm hearing are 3 or 4 concerns, which I understand, but this has been out there for months and folks are waiting. I'm just putting it out there only because it's holding people up. I don't mind putting it over, if you want to put it over till the next
This
meeting,
is the committee I was on, so I know.
July
That's
12th.
what I was going to ask you. You
I
were
was
that
on this committee, but that,
If you want to put it over till July 12th, that's
if you
fine.
guys got the
but-
votes, we'll vote on it, you know, like,
Well, it needs all 4 votes, so.
It does. It needs 4 votes. All right. I moved it. Does somebody second that?
Dennis can't vote, so somebody's,
I can't vote?
no, you don't vote.
No,
Oh,
You're not elected, sorry.
well, so much,
you're
So,
Kamala Harris.
so much for that.
in light of the fact that Dennis can't
Kamala
vote,
Harris.
in light of the fact that Dennis can't vote, and Tom has apprehensions until, because it was only out on Monday.
It was
I
out
mean,
on Monday.
The main thing that my concern is it
No,
was
no,
only.
18 pages worth were out in April, I'll say, April or May. So this is the first really anybody has put this out. I don't mind you putting it over. I'm just saying it's,
All I'm saying is,
there's,
you put it over for, until August, and then it's a vote, and you vote on it then, but like,
I wouldn't
So
put till August.
the only thing.
all
that-
right, July. Yeah, July.
Right.
gonna be
The only
here?
thing that's new
Yeah.
is LaBerge's response to the planning board comments, which is the last public meeting, the board asked David Gilmore to answer, provide a response to the planning board comments, which is what he's done. That's the only item that was not, posted a month ago. And again, we do have applications one is an 80-square-foot shed in this area that we're saying really doesn't need to be critical environmental, so this person's gonna have to go to the planning board. So we have a few of them like that. Now, we do have a dock that came in, that's going, that's riverfront, that's going. So with the critical environmental, we were looking at it in a similar concept of how it is applied throughout the rest of Orangetown. That's what we did, that's how we looked at it. So properties that are relatively flat, that won't have any variances, that are complying with codes, for something simple, why do they have to go through the issue of going to the planning board? So that is one of the major concerns that we have heard in the building department. And right now, we are teetering between enforcing two separate codes. So every time someone calls, we gotta stop, okay, let's pick up the other book. So there has been extensive work done, and, the town did hire LaBerge, who is an expert and was involved in a number of years with the dissolution. So if you want to put it over, you do obviously have to do that. But the only thing that was not up there last month was the letter from LaBerge answering the planning board comments, because he hadn't received them.
And when did that go up? What?
Monday.
That was Monday?
Thank you for clarifying.
Are you making a motion?
I agree with you, Paul. I think that, we weren't on I wasn't on that committee, and if Tom feels strongly about it,
I just say,
the 12th is what?
people
2
have concerns, it didn't get posted till yesterday.
So make a motion.
I don't have to make a motion. You made a motion, then
No.
no.
I
Take
I
no
make a
back.
motion that we continue the public meeting until July 12th meeting.
Yeah,
At
Okay,
that's okay.
we can have more
I
than one
think
public
that can all
hearing.
be straightened out before that. If people
Put it before Gatto Lane, so
You'll second it?
if there's
I'll
no
second.
things, it's done
All right,
quickly.
all in favor?
Aye.
Fine.
What time would be,
7 o'clock.
Yeah, I don't think this is gonna be a.
I would make it 7.
And
You get in
if you
touch
guys
with
want to
people
email
before and then
the
straight-
town, you can email Teresa with your concerns and CC the rest of the board.
So it's being continued, so the public portion will be open again on July 12th. So if you have comments, you can come back, or you can email or mail in your comments. If you send them to the supervisor, she makes sure that we all get them, or to the town attorney.
All right. We're in workshop.
Have to close that, right?
No, it's continued. It's going. All right. Number 6 is authorized grant application from the Rockland Resilient Recreation Grant Program for Rockland County ARPA Department Playground, Elizabeth Place Park in South Nyack, if anybody's interested in that, from South Nyack. 7, if there's a question, is stop me. First Amendment to PCS site agreement with Sprint Spectrum, T-Mobile, for new replacement antennae at, and equipment at Highway Department Wireless Cell Tower, 119 Route 303. We're getting an extra $750 a month on the lease for that. Number 8, Authorize agreement, New York City Football Club, access to Orangetown Soccer Complex, to using one of the fields on the OMM complex and paying us $30,000 for the use of that field when nobody else is using it during the day. Town attorney approval of 2022 certificate of sewer registrations. There are two. Approve, authorize town attorney to sign settlement documents, tax certiorari proceeding for 101 Dutch Hill Road, LLC versus Orangetown. It's okayed by the school district, and the cost to the town is $3,934. It has an impact in the school district of $10,413 and the county of $1,082. We did 11 and 12. The police officers, 13. Approve, purchase defibrillators from Stryker Piggyback Public Safety Association. It's very important for the old people in the audience that we have good defibrillators. 14, promote Robert Jim Wentland to police sergeant in the police department effective June 20th, 2022. DEME, appoint Phil Emirati, maintenance supervisor, electrical, grade 19, step 3, effective June 29th, 2022. Parks and Rec, approval to extend 2021 awarded contract resolution number 2021-226 for Chestnut Ridge Transportation, which we use for the 2022 Summer Day Camp Program and have used them in the past. Lend assistance. We're combining items 18 and 19. I have a resolution to combine 18 and 19. Mr. Divity, second. Oh, okay, never mind. Approve, and, okay, 18 is approve lend assistance to 2022 Piedmont Bastille Day. That's Saturday, July 16th. They're getting a showmobile with the rental cost of $500 and providing a certificate of insurance to the town of Orangetown. 19 is approved lend assistance to the 2022 Pearl River fireworks, Monday, July 4th. And what they're getting is a porta sands, six porta sands, 4 regular, 2 ADA units. And is the audit. That's it. So, public portion, I don't have anybody signed up. Does anybody want to speak? Mike Mandel?
Motion to open public comment.
Second.
Aye.
Did I ever tell you I hate you?
Good evening, members of the town board. Michael Mandel, Vice President of the Pearl River Park and Activity Committee. Thank you for mentioning the fireworks tonight. We do appreciate it. And ahead of time, we thank you for the police and the highway department making it quite a safe night out there for us. Just one additional thing. Between 7 and 7:30, the live music starts. It's Adam and the New Hearts. They'll be playing from approximately 7 or 7:30 till the fireworks start. So come on out and enjoy the night. Thank you.
Thank you, Mike. Anybody else want to speak? Motion on the public portion?
Motion closed. Second?
A second? Second by Jerry Vitale, all in favor?
Aye.
Item number 6.
Question on item 6, this is the grant, right? That there were strings attached if we took it?
There are strings, yes.
Yes, yes.
All right. If we take this grant, then the park is open not just to Orangetown residents, it's open to anyone. We had changed our Orangetown code to make it so the parks were,
Needed a resident requirement
resident requirement, and you can get
or day pass.
day pass. So this one,
This is in South Nyack, South Nyack.
Yeah,
okay, which is part of Orangetown.
They,
South Nyack in the past has taken grants.
But
and
The old, actually, our
I don't know why we're discussing this.
they applied
They're
for
now
this
part of
grant.
Orangetown.
so does this park have a grant that it has to be open to public now, or are we changing? That's the
Eric,
question.
com-
I know South Nyack has taken a lot of grants. They've taken state money during the bridge projects. What strings are attached to those, I'm not too sure. This is an Elizabeth Street Park, or Elizabeth Place Park, or get the place or street. I know they took money from the Tappan Zee Bridge project to do work in that facility because they added a dog park. So, and they have no restrictions on residency in any of the facilities down there. So that's the best answer I can give you. I don't know the history of what grants they've taken down there.
Do we have to vote on this tonight?
Does this affect anything else that we've done already?
No, only that park.
Only that park, but I'd like to know the history of that
Only
park.
where the money is spent. So if the park already has strings attached, then what's the difference? You might as well take the grant money, right? If it doesn't have strings attached, but Eric's
There's,
sort of leaning towards,
on my,
if you took money from Tappan Zee bridge construction, you probably,
right,
have
typically
strings
with funds from the state, you're not going to be able to restrict your residency. Keeping in mind, just the way this park is constructed, there's no parking there anyway, so people aren't coming from any distance in a car and trying to use it. There's no parking facilities at this location. It would all have to be out on South Broadway, which isn't really the best place to park. So mostly this is a park that gets used by the local residents as it is.
I'd like to know if there's any restrictions on this park before I vote on this.
Okay, let's table it
Yeah.
and ask for
motion to table.
Oh, you don't have to motion, just don't mention
We're not
it.
voting on it.
Number 7, First Amendment to PCS site agreement with Sprint Spectrum for the cell tower at the Highway Department. Have a motion on that? Second,
I'll second that, Dennis.
Brian Donahue. All in favor?
Aye.
Good, we got through one.
Listen, Kamala.
Number 8, authorize agreement, New York City Football Club, access to Orangetown Soccer Complex. Can I get a motion?
I'll make that motion.
Brian, second by Jerry. All in favor?
Aye.
Town Attorney, approval of 2022 certificate of sewer registrations, Wackady Excavating Corporation and SHA Corporation.
I make a
SHF, okay. Paul? Seconded by Tom Divany, all in favor?
Aye.
Number 10, approve, authorize town attorney to sign settlement documents for tax certiorari with the 101 Dutch Hill Road LLC. Move, Tom Divany.
I'll second it.
Second, Paul
Aye.
Valentine.
All in favor, aye.
Aye. All
Aye.
right, let's go to 13.
13, approve purchase defibrillators from Stryker Piggyback Public Safety Association at a cost of, I believe it's about $65,000.
I'll make a motion, I'll make a motion.
Brian? Donahue? Jerry? Seconded by Jerry Batari, all in favor?
Aye.
Promote the Robert Wetland, police sergeant, effective June 20th, 2022.
I'll make a motion. Sorry.
Jerry Vittori moving it,
I'll second.
second it. Brian Donahue, all in favor?
Aye.
DEME, appoint Phil Amirati, Maintenance Supervisor, grade 19, step 3, effective June 29th.
I'll make a motion.
Motion by Paul Valentine,
Sorry,
second by,
Tom Dewey.
Yep.
You don't know my, it's me, Tom.
second by Tom Divany.
Let's get those
All in favor?
defibrillators.
Aye.
Now I know why I retired.
Get those defibrillators here.
Parks and Recreation, approval to extend the 2021 awarded contract resolution for Chestnut Ridge Transportation for the summer camp. Resolution? Motion?
I'll make a motion.
Jerry Vittori, second by Brian Donahue. All in favor?
Aye.
Lend assistance, okay, so 18 and 19 are combined, so on to both.
Make that motion.
Approve combined agenda items 18 and 19.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Approving lending assistance for the 2022 Piedmont Steel Day. And
You combine 18 and 19.
And we're good.
We're good. Good job, buddy.
Jeff,
You're a poor man.
pay
Tom, right?
voucher. Number 20.
Okay, tonight's audit consists of 2 warrants for $854,000. The first warrant had 17 vouchers for $100,000. The second warrant had 148 vouchers for $753,000. Items of interest, number 3 and 4, the applied golf contracts. Number 5, capital market advisors, $27,000 for fiscal agent fees for the bond issuance. And number 6, Capasso, $80,000 for recycling. Number 11, Coister Associates, $27,000 for emergency repairs at the Nyack Pump Station. Number 13, Munis, $64,000 for payroll software for the year. Number 14, Oric, Harrington, and Sutcliffe, $24,000 for bond counsel. Number 15, Rebuild It Services, $124,000 for rebuilding the trickling filter. That's bonded money. And number 19, Tilcon, $24,000 for highway materials. Any questions on the audit?
Nope.
Any questions? No? Motion?
Moved.
Moved by Tom Divany,
I'll second.
Paul.
second by Paul Valentine. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Wow, we got exec or not? Personnel decision? All right, so we have executive
All right,
decision.
we're not coming out to vote, though.
Nope.
Okay. So we're going to adjourn in memory of Kathleen Bergen from Pearl River, Michael O'Malley, Pearl River, John Patrick Screen of Pearl River, and Virginia Colby of Tapan. And anybody want to say anything on that? No? Okay. We're done.
Moved. Moved for exec session
And then adjourn the meeting.
and adjourn the meeting.
I second.
Paul seconds it.
Aye.